Thank you very much, and good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow parliamentarians and friends. It's a great pleasure to begin this first session on our second day, and I'm sure you would want me to begin by thanking everybody who was involved in organising the marvellous awards dinner last night, which was an event that I think we will all remember. This morning we're discussing a very important aspect of our subject, which is how do we make sure that counter-terrorism policies respect human rights? How do we balance security with freedom? And how do we make sure we always have in mind what Senator Hikmat said yesterday in her contribution? There is no justice without human rights and the rule of law. And in our discussions today, we might also consider the question of the abolition of the death penalty, which is an important area for the PGA, and also for me, as I chair the all-party parliamentary group for the abolition of the death penalty worldwide in the UK Parliament. Thank you all very much, and I'm now going to hand over to my colleague and co-chair, Lord Purvis.
Thank you, Baroness Dunn, and good morning, and colleagues. I want to reiterate my thanks to the PGA team for putting this event on, and also to congratulate the excellent winners of the awards last night. And as someone who has been fortunate enough to visit Iraq 15 times in the last 18 months, I was particularly pleased to see such an outstanding winner from a community who has been so badly affected by the violence in northern Iraq. It's my pleasure to co-chair this session. As the programme indicates, I am a member of the International Relations Committee in the House of Lords. I have also had the privilege to co-author a report for a parliamentary inquiry with the British Council on resilience to violence and extremism for young people in the Middle East and North Africa. I launched the inquiry report in Washington 2 weeks ago, and we will be having our UK launch in the British Parliament in 2 weeks' time. The conclusions of that report to shift from countering violent extremism to prevention of violent extremism, I think, has many similarities with what I heard yesterday from our Italian colleagues in the debates that they are having in their parliament. And I'm looking forward to one of the contributors adding to those comments today. We have a stellar panel with 2 speakers of parliaments to contribute. And in order for us all to be able to have the contributions in time and to allow there to be contributions from the floor after, I'm appealing to all contributors to not go beyond 10 minutes in their contributions. But our first contributor is His Excellency Mr. Cipriano Kasama, who's the Speaker of the Parliament of Guinea-Bissau, and we look forward to your contribution, Mr. Speaker.
Da República da Itália, Excelências, senhores parlamentares, ilustres senhores corredores dos parlamentos para a Ação Global PGA, Excelências, senhores autoridades da República da Itália, Excelências, senhores parlamentares, ilustres senhores corredores dos parlamentos para a Ação Global PGA, distintos convidados, minhas senhoras e meus senhores.
Excelência, senhora.
Estão a fazer diretamente. Seja-me permitido,
Não hace falta.
antes de mais, fazer uma breve apresentação pessoal perante esta importante plateia que congrega parlamentares de todo o mundo, a qual tenho a subida honra de dirigir uma mensagem.
Just for clarity, I think we will have interpretation provided by a contributor. So, if you...
They can do it on the English is number 2.
So we will have the... apologies for the delay, Mr. Speaker, but we will... Our interpreter is just preparing and we will be able to have simultaneous translation.
Ah, une traduction simultanée sera assurée. C'est bon?
Elle a dit qu'il faut qu'elle traduise avant que...
Non, mais on m'a dit que l'interprétation sera assurée d'une manière simultanée. Bon, ma collègue va traduire.
Ça va pour vous de parler français ou pas? Si vous parlez portugais, on peut demander...
Excellence... Ok, c'est bon, je vais essayer de faire ça. C'est bon. Madame, Suze, ok. Excellence, Mesdames et Messieurs, les autorités de la République de l'Italie, Excellence, mes chers collègues parlementaires, illustres coordonnateurs du Parlement parlementaire pour l'action globale, PGA, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, qu'il me soit permis, avant tout, de faire une brève présentation personnelle pendant cette importante assemblée qui congrègue parlementaires de tout le monde, auquel j'ai l'honneur de diriger un message. Je m'appelle Cipriano Cassama, ingénieur agronome de profession, plusieurs fois ministre d'État à la présidence, député, président de commission plusieurs fois, président du groupe parlementaire, porte-parole du président de la République. Aujourd'hui, je suis en train je suis président du Parlement de l'Assemblée nationale parlementaire de la République de la Guinée-Bissau. Et aussi, je suis président de l'UPA, Union parlementaire africaine, une organisation qui réunit plus de 40 et quelques parlements africains en concrétisation avec ses objectifs communs, notamment la réalisation effective des idées de la liberté, l'égalité, la paix, la justice, la promotion des droits de l'homme, les libertés publiques, contribuer aussi pour la réalisation des objectifs de l'Union africaine, d'établissement de la paix durable à travers le dialogue dans le cadre d'une coopération interafricaine et d'une politique de la bonne voisinance, de coexistence pacifique et regroupement, entre autres. C'est dans ce cadre de qualité que je participe dans cet important forum que donc le thème c'est le rôle des parlementaires dans la défense et la participation de la société civile, dans le combat contre la violence, l'extrémisme et la prévention des atrocités en masse. Autrement, je profite de cette opportunité, cette transcendante opportunité, pour saluer les autorités italiennes et remercier de la façon très chaleureuse comme ma délégation et mes collègues de la Guinée-Bissau ont été reçus. Et aussi, je remercie les organisateurs de cette initiative. Et surtout, donc le thème qui a été choisi, très important pour le PGA, principalement en face d'escalade de violence extrémiste qui assolent les pays de notre hémisphère. Mesdames et Messieurs, la violence extrémiste ne connaît pas les frontières, ne connaît pas les nationalités, ne connaît pas les creeds religieuses. Et moi, des origines des victimes, pour sa saga d'implémentation des terreurs, d'infliger le malheur. Elle attaque les plus fortes organisations, bien comme les plus fragiles et les difficultés de destruction de ces systèmes de défense et souveraineté. Dans ce cadre, en fonction de cette réalité, il est fondamental que les pays adoptent une stratégie commune qui passe nécessairement pour partager les informations, appui mutuel et bien important l'élargissement des sphères de contrôle des entrées et les sorties de nos espaces géographiques nationaux. Le terrorisme lié à la violence extrémiste transnationale assume la condition principale des menaces de la paix mondiale et pour ça mobilise l'attention et préoccupation de tous les pays dans la cause commune de la sécurité internationale. Les organisations terroristes de jour actuel opérationnalisent, sont en train de s'opérationnaliser dans son potentiel pour détruire les pays et certains peuples. Selon les prévisions de certains spécialistes, il serait en part des accès à artefacts nucléaires par la suite des armées chimiques, biologiques, ou soit proximes de posséder des armes de destruction en masse. Il est important et très urgent que nous, en tant que parlementaires responsables, il faut que nous prenions notre mesure de préventive face à la menace latente que nous sommes en train de voir. Dans cette perspective, les parlements nationaux pourront jouer un rôle prépondérant en défense de combat d'extrémistes, bien comme de prévention d'extrémistes en masse, dans la synergie des efforts avec la société civile, objectivée dans la construction de ces phénomènes. La production législative, notamment les lois contre le terrorisme, l'extrémisme en masse, à l'effectivation des mesures de contrôle d'implémentation, non seulement des mécanismes légaux, comme aussi durant les discussions éventuelles de promotion du budget, exiger le gouvernement pour alloquer plus de ressources aux autorités de défense et de sécurité pour le combat de ces flagelles qui tendent à maltraiter la société moderne, bien comme aussi l'affectation des ressources financières à des organisations de société civile, avec l'objectif de diminuer les citoyens du monde à la conscientisation, la mobilisation et les risques de terrorisme et d'extrémisme en masse. Dans les États plus fragiles, comme la Guinée-Bissau, en Afrique aussi, où l'adhésion des idiots extrémistes est plus facile en vertu de la pauvreté de la ressource des citoyens qui sont facilement alliés à adhérer avec ces idées. Il importe aussi qu'il y ait une solidarité de la part des nations les plus développées dans ces chapitres du financement. Les programmes de prévention, comme aussi les aspects de capacitation des forces de défense et de sécurité en matière de combattre le terrorisme extrémiste en masse. Nous pensons de ce que nous avons écouté hier, en fonction de plusieurs panels qui ont été présentés, nous sommes d'accord en tant que Guinéens, nous congratulons avec cette situation. Mesdames et Messieurs, nous venons d'un pays politiquement instable, économiquement fragile, où toutes les fragilités ainsi de ces fléaux ont été ainsi signalées, notamment en considération de débilité des inhérents de cette réalité, principalement au niveau du contrôle de nos frontières. Il faut contrôler nos frontières qui sont fragiles économiquement et financièrement dans le tissu populationnel. Les difficultés des autorités politiques, ils réussissent à satisfaire les basiques nécessaires des citoyens, non, il ne sera pas facile de construire les bases pour la propagation des messages extrémistes. Non, je ne peux pas avoir 2 minutes. Non, je ne suis pas venu à la Guinée-Bissau pour parler 2 minutes. OK. Hein? Je rentre tout de suite dans le cas de la Libye. Nous, tous, en tant que parlementaires, il est honteux, irresponsable que nous faisons ce forum sans qu'il y ait une recommandation sincèrement dure contre les violences qui ont été en train de se développer contre nos frères qui sont en train de migrer en Libye. On les tue, on pisse sur eux, on fait tout ce qu'ils veulent. Donc je demande qu'il y ait une recommandation forte, une résolution forte pour condamner ça. Quant à mon pays, comme vous le savez, notre pays passe en ce moment une difficulté, donc de l'instabilité. Il y a eu des élections en 2012 où tout le monde devrait quand même avoir une expérience après les élections que la communauté internationale a considérées justes, libres et crédibles. Mais aujourd'hui, nous connaissons une instabilité totale où le président de la République a licencié 15 députés pour ne pas approuver le programme du gouvernement. Donc, il a exonéré les partis qui ont gagné les élections, bien sûr, et aujourd'hui, nous n'avons pas un gouvernement crédible. Nous avons un gouvernement sans programme, un gouvernement sans le budget, un gouvernement sans plan national de développement de notre pays. C'est dans ce cadre que je suis venu, malgré qu'on me fait déjà la pression pour ne pas finir mon message, mais je voudrais vous dire que le Parlement a des difficultés. Le gouvernement ne donne pas au Parlement les moyens pour pouvoir fonctionner. Il y a les députés qui reçoivent un peu de salaire, il n'y a pas de fonctionnement de notre Parlement. Le PAGC qui a gagné les élections, il avait formé un gouvernement inclusif avec 5 partis. Aujourd'hui, le président de la République a voulu quand même mettre le PAGC dehors pour prendre un autre parti. Ce que je peux dire, qu'il peut y avoir des violences imprévisibles dans notre pays. Dans ce cadre, que je voudrais quand même demander la solidarité de tous les pays membres ici, et aussi en particulier des PGA, pour la solidarité avec notre Parlement. Bien sûr, pour venir même ici, il faudrait quand même demander du financement aux autres organisations. Ce n'est pas normal. En tant que la 12e personnalité de mon pays, on ne peut pas continuer à vivre dans ces cas. Je suis venu, comme monsieur le secrétaire général du PGA et madame la présidente du PGA, ils connaissent très bien ces problèmes. Ma collègue députée Suze Barbosa va rester pour que quand même il puisse vous donner plus des informations. Je voudrais quand même développer ces actions, mais le co-président me fait la pression que le temps est venu. Bon, je vais vous remercier et je pense que quand même, je vous remercie de m'avoir écouté. Merci beaucoup. Je voudrais parler en portugais, mais on m'a refusé, hein, c'est pas grave. Merci.
Your Excellency, we're not only grateful for you overcoming the challenges to be here, and I'm also personally grateful that you managed to translate your own notes from Portuguese into French. So that a typical Brit like myself who only speaks English can be able to follow you. So, Mr. Speaker, we're very grateful. It's very impressive. Our second speaker, I don't know what the collective noun for speakers are, but perhaps we have a dialogue of speakers today, and our second speaker from the Parliament of Montserrat, Her Excellency Shirley Osborne, who is also a board member of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians Network, and as a member of the British Executive of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, looking forward to your contributions. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Buongiorno a tutti. In the Caribbean, we have begun to do something at the beginning of meetings like this. We say some words that help us save time. We say something like acknowledging the protocols already established, which I find kind of silly, but it saves us time. So I'll acknowledge the protocols already established, acknowledge everyone who's in the room, and proceed. Now, over yesterday, of course, I came with a speech already prepared. My staff helped me. And then I sat in the meeting yesterday and we did it all, which is not terribly unusual, because what happens when you listen to people speak is that you get the opportunity to revisit your thoughts, revisit your opinions, and change them and add information to what you're doing. And that, after all, really, I think, is the whole point of these conferences. So I trashed most of my speech last night, and I will begin by making a proposition. I think one of the things that was missing yesterday was talk about women. We talked about women sort of in passing. We mentioned women being hurt, we mentioned having to protect women, but we didn't talk about women as actors, as agents, as power players in this whole game. And I want to posit to you that until and unless we include women deliberately, intentionally, purposefully, in a focused and committed way in the decision-making in matters like this, we are actually violating women's human rights. Women, I am convinced, have a right, an absolute and inalienable right to contribute the absolute maximum that we want to, that we are capable of, to all the affairs of our countries, of our communities, of our families, and of the world. And the fact of the matter is that a large proportion of the women in the world are not allowed to do this. Many women all over the world are not allowed to go to school, are not allowed to make their own decisions about going outside, even. Now, yesterday, we talked, I think Signora Sereni talked about the root causes, getting to the root causes of violence. Now, and I don't want to add to the already too many responsibilities that women have, some of them onerous. I don't want to add to that, but the fact of the matter is that women also have a responsibility to contribute to this, to contribute to the solutions and the responses. We have a right to be allowed to express, to be allowed to contribute. Rights come with responsibilities, yes? And so I want to leave you with that for a second, and let me just back up a little bit and put this in context. I come from a little island, tiny little island. Right now, our population is 5,000 and something. When the island is full, it's 11,000, 12,000. That was before the volcano. I went to school in England. I went to school in the US. I lived in Italy for a while. I've traveled much of the world. When I live in this little island where everybody knows everybody, literally everybody knows your name. Everybody knows your family 3-4 generations back. You steal a pin, the whole island knows in very short order. And yet, when we travel out of Montserrat, we are required to go through screenings, metal detectors. They swab your luggage. And it's your cousin or somebody you went to school with who's doing that, who knows who you are. Our airport is this big. The largest planes carry 19 people. And yet, you know everybody on the flight, because even when tourists come, within 2 days, you know who's on island. And yet, we have to go through all of these, and we have to have a luggage search because there's terrorism in the world. And somebody also said yesterday, terrorism affects everybody in every single corner of the world. So I was living in the US in 2001 when the World Trade Centers were brought down. I had actually moved from New York to Phoenix. I was living in Phoenix at the time, a year or so after. I'd moved a year or so before the towers came down. And New York happens to be one of my favorite cities. Now, when I go to New York, I have to be really, really careful. When I drive through the Holland Tunnel, now I worry that somebody's going to have it cave in on my head. I like when I come to Italy and visit my friends, and we can just hang out in a pizzeria somewhere, walk the streets, and not have to worry. When I lived here before, my friends came from Morocco and Eritrea and Palermo. Now, I come to Italy, and I don't even want to take a bus. I want to take a cab, and then I wonder, is this cab going to get me where I need to go? When I moved back to the Caribbean 3 years ago, I got into politics, and it's a family issue. My father was a politician, my brother is, and I had wanted to be a politician. My father said, no, women don't. So I went off to school, went to college, got my degrees, went to the US, got my master's degree, went back home. And as a member of parliament in Montserrat, which is a member of the Commonwealth, I automatically became a member of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Now, the Commonwealth has a population of something like 2.4 million people. That's 1/3 of the population of the world. There are 52 countries, many of them in Africa, many of them in the Caribbean. There is Bangladesh, there's Pakistan, all of these countries, Rwanda, all part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, part of the Commonwealth and part of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. 2 years ago, we were scheduled to have our conference, our annual conference in Pakistan. We couldn't for security reasons. Last year, we were to have had it in Bangladesh. We couldn't for safety reasons, security reasons, because last year somebody blew up, I think it was a coffee shop in Bangladesh. We did go this year, 2 weeks ago, and like I said, I come from a little island where you can walk around as you please. I sleep with my windows open. I don't lock my doors when I leave my house. When I have to go off island, if my husband's off island, we pull the door in, literally. I come back, all my stuff is there. So I go to Bangladesh, and there is security that you could not believe. There's a big old truck with security in front. There are 3 officers with me in the car. There's security behind. And I wonder, how do people live like this? And I wish you all could live in my little island where it's safe and you can walk around and go to the beach and do all that stuff. And then I come back to who I am in the world, coming from this little island, and what contribution I can make. And my work is about women, because even in the little island, we have issues of private violence, violence in homes, violence that affects women. And that is an issue throughout the entire world. I want to suggest to you that the private violence that women experience in our homes is one of the major reasons why women are not able to contribute outside. It's not just that the men hold us back and hold us down. It's that if you've grown up being held down, being prevented from making decisions, being held back, when you do get a chance to step out, it's kind of difficult even to make decisions. I think of our international organizations, like United Nations, for example. Saudi Arabia is a member of the Commission on the Status of Women, Saudi Arabia. But women are not even women. Women are children in Saudi Arabia. Women are deprived even of their womanhood, the ability to be adults and make their own decisions, drive their own cars, leave their homes on their own if they want to, for no other reason than that they are women. Now, can you imagine what Saudi Arabia would be like if women could work in stores, if women could run businesses freely, I mean, not handpicked? Can you imagine what the world would be like? One woman from Africa, I think she was from Kenya, said to me once, Shirley, can you imagine what the world would be like, what Africa would be like if we had more women leaders of the countries? And I said, yes, I can imagine. I can well imagine what it would be like. We wouldn't have this many wars. We wouldn't have these men all fighting one another. We wouldn't have children to such a large extent being exploited and abused. In Phoenix, I worked with young girls from Rwanda and from the Congo. I worked with young boys who had been former soldiers in Sudan. This thing is all over the world. And I want to suggest to you again that if we want to ensure that we find a solution, we have to look to women. We have to set out in a focused, committed way to ensure women's agency, ensure women are actors. And the work that I do with the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is precisely that. I work to get as many women as possible into the offices of power, into the houses of parliament, onto the boards. I work to get women elected everywhere. Last year in the Caribbean, or earlier this year in the Caribbean, we made a commitment to ensure that at least half of the heads of government of the Caribbean would be women. And men in the room, they rolled their eyes, they made faces. But if you look at the picture of the heads of governments of CARICOM, the Caribbean Common Market and Community and Common Market, there's one woman. She came into office in December. There was one before from Jamaica. There was one before from Trinidad. Of 20 people, 20 leaders, there are no women, except 1 or 2 at a time. A woman from Iraq asked yesterday, why do we have to live like this all our lives? Now, if women are allowed to go to school, which means that people, governments, institutions need to make a concerted effort to ensure that women and girls get educated. You need to ensure that women have access to information. The organizations that enroll our men and boys into this, they find them where they are. How come we can't find the women? How come we can't get past? America gets involved in everybody's politics and business. How come they can't get to women and ensure that women are employed and allowed to express? There's a young man, my last point, there's a young man, I work with a group of young girls in Montserrat. One young boy, he's 16 years old, the brother of one of the girls in my group. He disappeared one day, and I found out because his grandmother told the friend of my mother, who told me, this young boy has left Montserrat and said he's going to Trinidad to join ISIS. His father lives in St. Lucia. Now, we have literally one Muslim family on Montserrat. And now this young man has gone. His mother is ashamed. His grandmother is worried to death. His sister gets bullied at school because your brother's gone to join ISIS. This thing affects us all everywhere. And in this particular case, I put to you that if the mother had had more power to control and manage, not control, to raise her children the way she wanted to, this might not have happened. So I leave you with this. We have to ensure that women get educated. We have to ensure that women get elected to office. Find the money, find the time, find whatever's necessary. Get women into offices of power, offices that make decisions, that affect policy, that lead the world. If we do nothing else, if we do this, it's a long game, but if we do this, we stand a chance. If we don't, we'll be outing fires. We're putting fires out. We'll be arms, prosecution, lock them up. That's what we'll be doing for the rest of eternity. Until we get to the women, empower the women, we don't really stand much of a chance, I believe. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much indeed. Our next contributor from Italy, Mr. Stefano D'Abruzzo, who's the chair of the Anti-Terrorism All-Party Group and is a former prosecutor. Mr. D'Abruzzo.
Grazie Presidente per avermi dato la parola. Voglio ringraziare gli organizzatori per questo invito. È importante che il Paese organizzatore possa avere appunto una rappresentanza che dia il segnale del contributo che si sta dando anche in Italia al contrasto al terrorismo. È importante ricordare che l'Italia è un Paese europeo e dopo i fatti purtroppo gravissimi attentati accaduti in Francia, in Inghilterra, in Belgio, in Germania, ecco, l'intera Europa ha avvertito l'importanza del essere insieme, del cooperare meglio per contrastare il terrorismo. Sono state introdotte molte misure importanti che hanno migliorato la cooperazione fra polizie. Con Europol, che è una polizia europea, sono stati dati più strumenti. È stata migliorata anche la cooperazione fra prosecutor, Eurojust, che è un ufficio di coordinamento fra attività investigative qui in Europa. Deve essere ancora migliorato lo scambio di informazioni e il coordinamento fra le intelligence. Ecco, proprio sull'intelligence si svolge un lavoro fortemente importante e preventivo per il contrasto al terrorismo, di questo ne siamo consapevoli. L'Europa però è un continente unico e quindi grazie anche a dei trattati, quello più importante Schengen, è possibile passare liberamente, senza grandi controlli, da un paese all'altro. Ed è per questo che il contrasto al terrorismo deve essere vissuto da ciascun paese, non come un fenomeno interno soltanto, ma soprattutto continentale. Ed è quello che l'Italia ha fatto. Allontanandosi da delle tradizioni di legislatura dove venivano appunto introdotte delle leggi prevalentemente a seguito di gravi reati, di gravi attentati, Noi in Italia abbiamo avvertito l'importanza di dare immediatamente una legge che sia in linea con le altre leggi di paesi europei che invece stavano vivendo un'emergenza. La Francia, l'Inghilterra, la Germania hanno delle leggi che possono essere considerate straordinarie, possono essere considerate emergenziali, proprio perché sono successive a fatti e attentati molto, molto gravi. In Italia nel 2015, fortunatamente in assenza dei gravi attentati, abbiamo introdotto delle leggi che ci consentono davvero di anticipare fortemente la punibilità e quindi la possibilità di fare dei processi e quindi la possibilità di arrestare i nuovi terroristi che hanno un profilo completamente diverso rispetto a quelli che abbiamo conosciuto durante il periodo di Al-Qaeda. I terroristi di marca ISIS hanno delle caratteristiche che hanno la necessità di essere combattute con leggi diverse ed è per questo che nel 2015, dopo i fatti di Charlie Hebdo, abbiamo introdotto delle leggi assolutamente lontane dalla nostra tradizione giuridica, perché hanno fortemente anticipato la punibilità. Per esempio, oggi è possibile essere investigati prima, portati a processo e condannati per reati come l'autoaddestramento, si è puniti dai 5 agli 8 anni. Se uno di fronte al web, rimanendo a casa, impara a costruirsi una bomba, ecco, quello è un reato che può essere punito anche senza che si sia passati alla concreta costruzione della bomba stessa. È stato introdotto il reato di autoreclutamento, non per punire il reclutatore, ma anche chi si autorecluta, perché il terrorista ISIS, abbiamo verificato, è capace di mettere a disposizione la sua vita e anche il suo contributo, rimanendo da solo sul web senza essere mai andato in un posto dove c'era un gruppo di persone appunto della stessa associazione come l'ISIS, e quindi lui da solo chiede di raggiungere i territori di guerra. È capitato con l'esperienza di molti foreign fighters europei e anche italiani. E quindi anche l'autoaddestramento, rimanendo a casa, senza essere mai usciti, senza essere ancora andati in un aeroporto o in un porto, ebbene, anche questo è un reato che è punito dai 5 agli 8 anni. Anche l'organizzazione del viaggio, chi decide di raggiungere i territori di guerra per il solo fatto di poter dimostrare che stai arrivando, per esempio, a Istanbul per poi raggiungere il territorio dell'Iraq e della Siria per unirti al califfato, anche quello è un altro reato. Quindi reati fortemente che anticipano la punibilità. Quindi una legislatura che ha dato delle leggi molto repressive, ma siamo anche consapevoli, e gli analisti di tutto il mondo, quali voi siete, ci confermano questo aspetto, la repressione non è l'unico strumento e comunque non ci consentirà di uscire fuori da questo problema legato al contrasto al terrorismo di matrice islamista, proprio perché dall'11 settembre del 2001 ancora oggi stiamo cercando di trovare soluzioni che ci consentano di superare questo problema. E quindi dobbiamo investire, ne siamo convinti, sulla prevenzione. Prevenzione vuol dire avere a disposizione dei progetti, dei programmi, con dei soldi, con un budget garantito dal governo italiano e possibilmente anche dal governo europeo, dalla Commissione europea, che sta sviluppando molti programmi in questo senso. Ebbene, la prevenzione oggi vuol dire contrasto alla radicalizzazione, dove prevalentemente nei posti dove un ragazzo, un giovane, un cittadino, sia pur di seconda o terza generazione di origini arabe, ma cittadino europeo, ebbene, si forma, cresce ed entra in contatto con realtà che lo possono condizionare. Ebbene, nelle scuole, nelle carceri e sul web. Questi sono i 3 luoghi su cui la prevenzione deve esplicarsi, deve realizzarsi. In che modo? Abbiamo pensato di migliorare i programmi di formazione e di esecuzione delle leggi che disciplinano appunto l'educazione nelle scuole. Ebbene, molti insegnanti non hanno ancora nel nostro Paese una completa formazione per gestire la multiculturalità e il dialogo interreligioso che sempre di più nelle nostre classi, nelle classi delle nostre scuole, soprattutto delle scuole inferiori, si svilupperà anche a seguito di questa enorme immigrazione che l'Europa sta gestendo male, ma sta gestendo. E quindi le scuole, programmi nelle scuole, per evitare che chi è di un'altra religione, in particolare un ragazzo di origine araba, legittimamente di origine musulmana, si senta isolato in un paese dove è prevalente la religione cattolica, come l'Italia. Nelle carceri abbiamo accertato che esiste appunto il vero rischio di entrare come un criminale comune per aver per esempio rubato una mela in un supermercato e lì invece in un momento di tua debolezza, di tua fragilità, incontri il predicatore che ti convince a radicalizzarti. Anche quello è un luogo che noi stiamo monitorando per migliorare sia la formazione della polizia penitenziaria, sia la presenza di predicatori, di imam, che non siano portatori di un Corano estremista. E infine sul web. I giovani, giovanissimi, i ragazzini che usano, come tutti i nostri figli, smartphone e PC, devono avere la possibilità di leggere i messaggi che arrivano sul loro smartphone in una maniera il più possibile neutra. Molti messaggi che arrivano su siti jihadisti sono condizionanti per la formazione e la crescita di molti giovani appartenenti alla seconda o terza generazione di comunità musulmana araba presente sul nostro territorio. Ebbene, anche su questo il governo intende programmare una comunicazione che neutralizzi questa messaggistica jihadista, ricordando l'importanza dei valori del paese che sta ospitando questa comunità con una cultura importante e rispettabile che viene da fuori. Quindi tutto questo sta accadendo in Italia, repressione ma prevenzione. Ma per superare il tutto, per superare definitivamente il problema legato al terrorismo di matrice islamista, molto bisogna fare, cosa che sta facendo l'Europa, sta iniziando a fare l'Europa, investendo economicamente per sostenere anche i nuovi governi che devono essere sempre più democratici nei paesi del Nord Africa e del Medio Oriente, dove esistono delle democrazie fragili che consentono appunto l'affermarsi di gruppi di natura terroristica. Ecco, tutto questo sta accadendo e l'Italia sta dando un contributo importante per lo sviluppo di queste politiche. Grazie Presidente, restituisco la parola.
Thank you, Mr. Drumbuso. Our next contributor is Ms. Anna Birchall, MP in the Romanian Parliament, who is also Vice Chairperson of the Ad Hoc Committee on Countering Terrorism for the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. Ms. Birchall.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. Your Excellencies, honorable colleagues, distinguished participants, I'm very pleased to address this high-level forum on behalf of the Ad Hoc Committee on Countering Terrorism of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, and I am very pleased to be here today with our Secretary General, Mr. Montella, and our colleague from Vienna office, Francesco Pagani. I would like to start by thanking the organizers, and in particular Parliamentarians for Global Action, for bringing us here today to discuss one of the most pressing challenges of our days, combating terrorism without compromising the respect for fundamental freedoms. Terrorism has become an unprecedented threat to international and regional security, when we have to provide a strong response to this fear-spreading phenomenon. But we need to bear in mind that solutions have to remain human in a spirit of respect and communion. This panel specifically reminds us of the need to treat each other as human beings with respect and dignity, regardless of his/her political affiliation, ethnicity, or religions. Today, we should ask ourselves the following questions. Can our counter-terrorism effort and human rights obligations be mutually reinforcing? Should we sacrifice our long-standing commitments and values when it comes to the fight against terrorism? I'm sure that all of us will give the same answers. Let me stress from the beginning that the fact that every effort in countering and preventing the terrorism phenomenon, radicalization, or any form of violent extremism should be made in full compliance with respect for fundamental rights and freedoms. First and foremost, we must recognize that by developing counter-terrorism strategies based on the protection of human rights, we are also tackling the root causes of terrorism and radicalization, which often lie in hopelessness and despair. Addressing the root causes of violent extremism of any kind throughout efforts aimed at improving the social economic conditions of people belonging to communities most vulnerable to radicalization and recruiting for terrorism must be an imperative for all our national parliaments, and not only. Therefore, adequate safeguard of human rights, including political and civil rights, along with economic, social, and cultural rights, constitutes a key element of the comprehensive solution in addressing terrorism. In 2002, the United Nations High-Level Panel on Threats, Challenges, and Change reported that recruitment by international terrorist groups is aided by grievances nurtured by poverty, foreign occupation, and the abuse of human rights and democracy. Indeed, there is a growing concern that marginalization caused by human rights abuses can induce radicalization and nurturing violent extremism. This is why we should strive to build upon our knowledge and experience to develop forward-looking policies that promote inclusive, peaceful, and respectful societies in our countries, while also using such experience and expertise in the aid of developing or poor countries by a way of respect and adaptation for their own specificities. It is our duty as elected officials to encourage the adoption of national legal frameworks to allow a focused attention on countering terrorism in full compliance with respect of civil liberties and human rights, and prevented abuses or altering the purposes of the laws. As parliamentarians and representatives of our citizens, we have a commitment to be at the very forefront of all counter-terrorism initiatives. In order to meet this commitment, we are called to designate innovative legislation and policies that strives a delicate balance between security and privacy, between effective counter-terrorism efforts and the respect for fundamental freedoms at every level, and most important nowadays, the respect of freedom of every individual in the cyberspace. To ensure the proper balance between privacy and safety, adequate safeguards against bulk data acquisitions must be implemented in national legislation in order to address citizens' rights to privacy and personal data protection, for example. When it comes to the terrorist acts committed using or inside the cyber environment, or the exposure to hate and propaganda messages circulated throughout the virtual media, one of the main solutions that I have emphasized and advocated not just in my home country, Romania, but in every forum, and that's why I'm taking this opportunity given by you today here, to stress the importance of a proper education and development of a cybersecurity culture among our citizens. In this respect, I think, and I initiated in my country, a bill for introducing cybersecurity in the school's curricula for the youngest ages, because it is important to know and to teach our kids from early age how to protect themselves as well. Because cyberspace, it's an interesting space, but likewise they need to learn the dangers from there as well. I truly consider that such actions can be taken at multilateral level, as they are part of our efforts in both raising awareness among our citizens and also of the increasing cooperation and dialogue with our citizens. In addition, we should provide oversight of the security sector and actively promote a continuous and healthy dialogue between national governments and parliamentarians, local communities, academia, and civil society. Let me underline the key role of the civic society that the civic society plays in this context, as well as their important contribution in developing sustainable responses and sustainable policies. Ladies and gentlemen, as a forum of 323 members of parliaments from 56 OSCE participant states spanning from Vladivostok to Vancouver, our Parliamentary Assembly has always been a strong advocate for the adherence to the democratic values and international law principles, including, of course, human rights. In this line, the organization's comprehensive security approach in respect for fundamental freedom and the rule of law represents a cornerstone for our common security and prosperity aspirations. Against this backdrop, the topic of this panel is, of course, of utmost importance. We should always make sure that our security sectors act in accordance with our national laws and international obligations. In particular, no human rights violations should be justified by counter-terrorism narrative. This includes a wide range of rights, such as the freedom of speech, right to privacy, and most important, the right to justice. The denial of justice to individuals and groups has direct repercussions on our societies and the cohesion within them, while unrestricted access to justice and fair trials are pillars of a functioning democratic system. In the endeavor to boosting our counter-terrorism ambitions over the years, our Assembly has adopted a number of resolutions pertaining to terrorism and radicalization, where its members unequivocally and repeatedly underscored the need for all counter-terrorism measures to comply with the principles of the rule of law and the obligations of international law, including international human rights law, refugee law, and humanitarian law. For instance, we adopted the resolutions on strengthening the role of the OSCE in countering terrorism this year, 2 resolutions on countering violent extremism and radicalization that lead to terrorism in 2012 and 2011, 1 on extraordinary redemption investigations in 2012, another one on strengthening effective parliamentary oversight of security and intelligence agency in 2006, as well as one specifically on terrorism and human rights in 2005, just to give you some examples of our work. Apart from the many resolutions adopted over the years in recognition to the challenges that lay ahead in the domination that our Assembly also recently established the ad hoc committee on countering terrorism, which I am proud to be a member of. It currently consists of 11 parliamentarians from 11 different countries participating in our Assembly, and our main goal is to promote the harmonization and the advancement of legislative and policy framework pertaining to terrorism and violent extremism. By participating in fora like this, we are striving to stimulate international cooperation, the exchange of best practices, and as well as to assist the consolidation of global counter-terrorism efforts. We are currently at the stage of defining our strategy and possible areas of contribution, taking into account the specific role that other actors already play in the field. And just 1 more minute, because I would like to give you a feedback of what we've been doing recently, because we've been visiting Morocco. We heard during that visit about the remarkable efforts of local authorities in preventing violent extremism and radicalization, including by fostering inter-religious dialogue, social inclusion, economic development, and respect for fundamental freedoms. Youth, in particular, play a key role in this regard. During our visit in Morocco, we also learned of the multiple challenges posed by the foreign terrorist fighters phenomenon, as well as about the roadblock to achieving efficient information information exchange. In our 2015 resolution on comprehensive legislative reform on foreign terrorist fighters, we precisely encourage all the countries participating in our assembly to designate new and most effective information sharing mechanism and cooperative with our regional and international organization and agency. Lately, addressing the foreign terrorist fighters problem has become a priority for many international organizations, particularly in relationship to the conflict in Syria and in Iraq, and to the issues that stand behind migration and generating legal database within the sphere of counter-terrorism and human rights. In response to this transformation and in the light of several terrible attacks in Europe, European countries or elsewhere, many supranational bodies, including our Parliamentary Assembly and our Committee on Counter-Terrorism, have repeatedly called upon the states to address the foreign fighters issue. The recommendation addressed the urgent need to overcome the phenomenon of enhancing cooperation or informational sharing and get to the point of enhancing new domestic and put in place new domestic criminal justice and administrative measurements to suppress the phenomenon. And here I'm not going to elaborate by my own country, Romania. Even though we are not dealing with the foreign fighters, we are taking an important role and we are very active on that one, including not just having a system for preventing the counter-terrorism, but likewise in joint efforts with another country, Spain, we are pushing for the creation of the International Criminal Court for combating terrorism. And I think such an instrument based on international criminal law will reinforce the idea that the response to a global threat as terrorism requires multilateral action based on the law. Finally, moving back to our ad hoc committee on countering terrorism in our assembly, I want to say that earlier this month we always visited our secretariat and the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime in Vienna, where we had a fruitful exchange of views with relevant experts and civil society representatives, and this allowed us to better determine our interparliamentary added value within the complex system of international intergovernmental bodies. Among others, we met with the representative on freedom and of the media to discuss the importance of safeguarding the freedom of expression and the freedom of information while shaping our counter-terrorism approaches. To conclude, let me once again thank you, the organizer, for inviting our committee to this timely event. We are very eager to engage with you on joint forces to promote more effective and human rights compliant counter-terrorist strategies. I should say that our ad hoc committee on countering terrorism is very open to the dialogue, and I want to avail myself and my colleagues to this opportunity to briefly inform you about our plans in the near future. We intend to visit OSCE's field operation in South European and Central Asia, two areas in our region where the terrorist threat is particularly relevant. So this visit, I think, will certainly help us to get better acquainted with the tendencies and main concerns on the ground. We should then influence our actions for the future. Again, I should stress that our doors are wide open, and I very much look forward to a very fruitful dialogue. Thank you. And I apologize for running late.
Thank you very much, Ms. Birchall. Our next contributor is Mr. Sadiq Niasse from Senegal, who is the Secretary General of RADHO and is also a CSO PGA partner in the ICC campaign. So, Mr. Niasse, please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonjour, chers participants et honorables députés, membres de PGA. Je remercie le PGA d'avoir invité la rencontre africaine pour la défense des droits de l'homme, qui est une organisation de la société civile africaine et qui travaille dans le cadre de la lutte contre toutes les formes d'exclusion sociale et de violation des droits humains en Afrique. Et dans ce domaine également, nous travaillons dans le cadre de la lutte contre l'impunité et renforcer tous ces leviers qui offrent aux individus le sentiment d'appartenir à la société. Et je remercie également PGA d'avoir choisi la rencontre africaine, la RADO, pour être partenaire dans le cadre d'un projet qui a été financé par l'Union européenne pour renforcer la justice pénale internationale et également les relations entre l'Afrique et la CPI. C'est très important, on n'aura pas le temps trop de développer sur ça, mais hier, je pense que l'ambassadeur Stéphane en a parlé. Tout ce travail qu'on a fait pour amener Hissène Habré devant les tribunaux avec les victimes. Parce que l'impunité aussi fait partie des sources de radicalisation, en tout cas partout dans le monde. Ceci dit, je pense que les réponses aux menaces à la paix et à la sécurité sont devenues des sujets de préoccupation au niveau national, régional et international. Et partout, des initiatives, des stratégies et des actions opérationnelles de contre-terrorisme sont développées pour assurer aux États la sécurité, mais également aux populations de vivre sans la peur. Et devant une telle situation, il devient important, selon notre perception, d'attirer l'attention des acteurs étatiques et également des acteurs non étatiques impliqués dans la lutte contre les menaces à la paix et à la sécurité sur l'obligation de ne pas renoncer aux valeurs fondamentales que constitue le respect des droits de l'homme en toutes circonstances, afin d'éviter que les États ne basculent dans des cycles de violence perpétuelle. Être dans la société civile, les droits de l'homme ne sont pas très populaires, ni auprès des terroristes, mais ni aussi auprès de certaines autorités étatiques, et surtout dans beaucoup de pays africains. C'est pour cela que nous appuyons la préoccupation qui est contenue dans la stratégie, le pilier 4 de la stratégie des Nations Unies, mais également dans d'autres instruments que les États ont signés, surtout en Afrique, la Convention de l'Union africaine, mais également les directives, les lignes directrices concernant la lutte contre le terrorisme, qui s'appuient sur 3 piliers, je pense qu'Anna les a cités. C'est le respect du droit international, des droits de l'homme, le respect du droit international humanitaire et le respect des droits des réfugiés. Et dans le cadre également de la prévention de l'extrémisme violent des États, les États doivent tout faire pour éviter des mesures discriminatoires à l'encontre des groupes ou des communautés. Et de telles mesures et actions à l'encontre de ces groupes peuvent être utilisées par les terroristes pour radicaliser également les jeunes. Maintenant, l'impact sur les droits de l'homme, aussi bien des actions terroristes que des mesures antiterroristes, est considérable. Les opérations terroristes, de par leur nature même meurtrière, constituent une violation flagrante et massive des droits humains, notamment du droit à la vie des milliers de victimes innocentes, y compris des femmes et des enfants. Boko Haram, par exemple, qui opère dans la région le bassin du lac Tchad, qui regroupe Nigeria, Cameroun, Tchad et Niger, a causé à lui seul, de 2009 à 2016, plus de 20 000 morts au Nigeria. C'est un peu une banalisation des conséquences. Souvent, on ne les comptabilise même pas dans le nombre de morts que cause le terrorisme dans le monde. Tellement tous les jours, il y a des morts au Nigeria et dans les pays qui les voisinent. Et le dernier en date, c'est également le dernier, l'attaque de la mosquée en Égypte, qui a fait plus de 300 morts. Avec ce nombre de personnes tuées, on voit que c'est une violation flagrante du droit à la vie que posent les terroristes. Le bassin du lac Tchad est devenu aujourd'hui également l'épicentre des milliers de personnes fuyant les zones contrôlées par des groupes terroristes. C'est des millions de personnes déplacées à l'intérieur de cette surface-là. D'autre part, les mesures prises pour prévenir et lutter contre les menaces terroristes peuvent parfois avoir un impact indésirable même souvent inattendus sur les mêmes droits humains, notamment le droit à la vie, dont la protection constitue même l'essence des actions antiterroristes. Et ces violations des droits humains peuvent revêtir différents aspects. Par exemple, le risque que les notions très vagues, comme les notions d'apologie au terrorisme, de troubles à l'ordre public, ne soient utilisées par certains États, je ne dis pas tous les États, contre des personnes qui n'ont rien à voir avec le terrorisme, pour casser des opposants politiques, casser des défenseurs des droits de l'homme, et on l'a vu un peu quelque part en Afrique. Il y a également la promulgation de lois qui peuvent remettre en cause certaines libertés ou droits fondamentaux, effectivement, à l'instar des lois qui autorisent la détention préventive pour 96 heures renouvelables jusqu'à 30 jours. Et ces lois ont été votées au Sénégal, Cameroun, Tchad, Nigeria, un peu partout. On me signale qu'il me reste 1 minute. J'ai l'impression d'avoir parlé que 2 minutes. Donc, OK. L'intervention maintenant des forces de défense dans leur mission de sécurisation aussi cause des problèmes au niveau sur le terrain. Et je ne vais pas revenir là-dessus, mais il y a par exemple la stigmatisation à l'encontre de groupes et de communautés comme les Peuls, les Touaregs au Mali, etc. Et il y a aussi des exécutions sommaires et arbitraires, tout ça peut causer des violations. Et par ailleurs, devant les difficultés éprouvées par les États, parce qu'on demande trop à l'État, mais si l'État ne fait pas aussi, il y a des risques de développement de ce qu'on appelle les groupes d'autodéfense qui se créent. Par exemple, au Mali, il y a un groupe d'autodéfense qui s'est créé, qui opère comme des terroristes. Et ils causent souvent des dommages qui sont comparables à ce qui est causé par les terroristes. Maintenant, je vais terminer, comme on me presse un peu, sur les initiatives pour faire face à ces actions. Étant donné que les groupes terroristes opèrent au-delà des frontières internationales et de part et d'autre, dans une stratégie de développement de mouvements régionaux, les États concernés sont dans l'obligation de se mettre ensemble sous une forme de coopération concentrique. Et cette coopération qui a un soubassement militaire peut aller jusqu'à une coopération judiciaire ou bien au niveau des renseignements, échange de renseignements entre les États. Et une bonne pratique, c'est que dans le bassin du lac Tchad, où entre Nigeria, Cameroun, Tchad et le Niger, s'est constituée la force multinationale mixte établie dans sa forme actuelle depuis 2014. Il y a aussi d'autres groupes comme le G5 Sahel, le G3 entre le Burkina, le Mali et le Niger. Et lorsque des militaires de la force opèrent sur le terrain, ils procèdent à des arrestations des présumés terroristes. Et ils font un premier profilage. Ils sont toujours accompagnés par des éléments de la police judiciaire. Et ça, c'est important. Et ce premier profilage permet de mettre à la disposition du pays d'origine du présumé terroriste à la disposition de sa justice. Il y a également une dernière bonne pratique, je vais terminer là-bas, Monsieur le Président, c'est la mise en place de pôles judiciaires spécialisés. Au niveau du Mali, du Niger, on l'a vu. Et dernièrement, on peut aussi souligner le manque d'initiatives en direction des victimes du terrorisme. On met beaucoup d'argent dans le désarmement, etc. Mais pour les victimes, souvent, il n'y a pas grand-chose qui est prévu pour elles. Voilà un peu de façon très ramassée ma communication. Merci.
Thank you very much. Time goes very quick when the content is so rich. So our final contributor before the intervention is Valerio de Vitis, who's from the International Institute for Justice and the Rule of Law in Malta.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the panel chairs and to Parliamentarians for Global Actions and the other partners for inviting me to represent the International Institute for Justice and Rule of Law based in Malta to present our substantive engagement established with over 100 parliamentarians from Europe, but mainly Africa and Middle East countries. Engagement we started in 2015 thanks to the contribution of the European Union, who tasked the IAJ to support parliamentarians in their role specifically to contrast terrorism, to counter terrorism. So since 2015, we first ran 5 thematic workshops for parliamentarians. Some of these were hosted by the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, the House of Representatives of Morocco, as well as the Parliament of Malta, and we also had the symposium that took place in Brussels. During these thematic workshops, legislators and together with some interparliamentary forum representatives and international organization experts drafted a set of recommendations specifically focused on parliamentarians' role in the field of counterterrorism. These recommendations were later on endorsed at ministerial level by the Global Counter-Terrorism Forum in September 2016. A few copies of these recommendations I circulated through the registration desks. They are in French, English, and Arabic and Turkish, and they are also available on the IAJ website. So these recommendations, 11 recommendations, as I said, address the need to incorporate, international conventions and universal anti-terrorism instruments and UN Security Council resolutions and other binding and non-binding legal tools at the national level. So in this sense, we see parliamentarians having an important role. The second recommendation concerns parliamentarians' role in understanding which are the sources of terrorism. We know that there are different types of terrorism. Sometimes can be motivated by religious or ideological reasons. Sometimes can be motivated by separatist instances, for instance. Another recommendations concern the establishment of effective justice sector institutions and interagency bodies, very often requiring organic law that clearly define the roles of the various institutions dedicated to counterterrorism at central level, but also at community level, since we increasingly see the relevance of the involvement of community-level actors in the prevention of violent extremism. The fourth recommendation concerns the need to set investigative tools within the rule of law, so to provide clear mandates to security, investigation, and intelligence agencies, so to operate on a clear legal basis, very critically when you think about undercover operations or for instance also electronic surveillance. Fifth recommendation concerns the establishment of a very sound criminal justice system, so importantly access to justice for everyone. So in this sense the collaboration with the judicial authorities of the parliamentarians with the judicial authorities is crucial, and we know that criminal procedure rules are linchpin of any justice system. The sixth recommendation concerns the need to foster the public understanding about terrorism. Therefore, parliamentarians who are very often exposed to public opinion and so on have also this responsibility to frame discussions and to set the tones, not necessarily in an alarmistic manner, to facilitate an objective understanding of terrorism. The engagement of civil society also is the seventh recommendation of the Valletta recommendation. We, as I said earlier, we see how community-level actors and other let's say, stakeholders who operate mainly across the communities at local level have a role in preventing violent extremism, and very often they have also the perception of what is the situation on the ground, so a sort of a basin of knowledge, and they are frontline actors interacting with the communities on a daily basis. Moving to a very sensitive topic, parliamentarians are, of course, crucial when it comes to allocating sufficient budget for government agencies to operate and to run their counter-terrorism policies properly, and importantly also to oversee the action of law enforcement and intelligence agencies to secure citizens' rights. So very often we know that there are different layers, different levels of parliamentary involvement in oversight manner. As representatives of the citizens, we do think there should be an increased involvement, enhanced involvement of parliamentarians when it comes to oversight of security and policies in general, and not necessarily those focused on counter-terrorism. And then this oversight needs to be balanced, of course, with the need to preserve operational security, but at the same time with the benefit of public disclosure, so which are the rights, for instance, for the general public to, after some years maybe, to become aware of what classified information, classified operations were about. The final recommendations concern the promotion of interparliamentary exchange of information, and during these 2 days, of course, we are experiencing a very good example. We also have representatives from the OSCE, and also I would like to mention the Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly in this sense. So I'm trying to conclude quite quickly. We moved recently to a next stage of our initiative for parliamentarians, again, thanks to the contribution of the European Union, to the support of the European Union, where parliamentarians are working closer with judicial authorities. So again, we are focusing mainly Middle East and Northern African countries, and so to help parliamentarians to go through the Valletta recommendations with the advice of judicial sector representatives. And we started with a very interesting workshop held in Cairo 4 weeks ago, hosted by the Arab Parliament. We collaborated with the Arab Parliament who hosted this event, attended by 60 experts, the majority of them parliamentarians, plus some judges, where, let me share briefly some of the outcome from this meeting. So several people mentioned the need to modernize CT strategies, counter-terrorism strategies, also to reflect gender matters and to have a more child-oriented justice mechanism. Another point that was raised regarding the need to facilitate international judicial cooperation as called by Resolution 2322 of the UN Security Council. Then, in this sense, also the role of internet service providers, so better cooperation with the private sector was mentioned. One point it's important to mention, I think, is that in many constituencies, especially in European countries, there are some political parties, representatives who exploit terrorism and the fear generated by terrorism for pursuing their own political agendas and their own maybe party goals, with the result of producing more polarization across the society. And this is definitely a factor that can eventually only facilitate violent extremism and terrorist organizations to recruit new people. So it's important to balance and to temper the emotions, and parliamentarians bear this responsibility to maintain a national unity vision when it comes to security matters, and not to exploit these arguments, these matters, for their own political agendas. Then I need to conclude. Of course, last point, sorry, I would like to mention is about when it comes again to security and intelligence oversight. Some parliamentarians complain by the application of the third-party rule by many governments, where governments cannot share information, sensitive information, when this is related to counter-terrorism operations held in cooperation with other countries, so with foreign security and intelligence services. So this is was also mentioned by some parliamentarians who complained about this matter. So thank you so much for your time, and
thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much again to PGA for hosting us and to give me the chance to present before this distinguished audience. Thank you.
Now, regrettably, we are now beyond our allocated time, but there was one indication of a contributor from the floor, which is Senator Trillanes from the Philippines. I regret that we only have 1 minute, because then we have to go to the rapporteur, because if we don't have a break, it's not fair for the next panel. So, Senator Trillanes, if you have the microphone, 1 minute, please. I will have to be rigid.
It's working now. Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to be heard. Let me congratulate the PGA for this highly informative forum. But in relation to impunity and the respect for human rights, let me take this opportunity to inform my fellow parliamentarians about the situation in the Philippines. Because when our President, Rodrigo Duterte, was elected last year, 16 months ago, he declared a policy of summary executions for suspected drug users and pushers. And our Filipino people are being killed in the streets and in their homes. And to date, 14,000 people have been killed through these summary executions conducted by the police or their agents. And aside from that, the political opposition are also being persecuted. A fellow senator of mine has been detained for trumped-up charges. And as for myself, the president himself ordered a hit squad to kill me. And it's only by the grace of God and my strong links to the security forces that I am still here with you. And now he is threatening to declare a revolutionary government in the Philippines. So, but despite all of that, we have been pushing back, using all the remedies afforded by our democratic institutions. And, but it's becoming more and more impossible to restore rule of law, due process, and call for accountability. And that is why we have resorted to filing a case with the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity for Mr. Duterte, for them to intervene as soon as possible. Otherwise, this carnage would continue, and probably we would lose our democracy in the Philippines. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And Dr. Gagné has very kindly ceded his time, and I think it was appropriate that we heard that message from you, Senator, which brings into context the reality of many of the issues that we are discussing. Can I thank all of our contributors and our parliamentarians and the speakers of Montserrat and Guinea-Bissau. I thank all the other CSO contributors as well. Inevitably, this session could have been far longer than the time allocated, but I look forward very much to the work that is being carried out, that is being supported with the PGA partners and putting together the material in the handbook. I think that will capture a lot of the information. We will all be seeking an opportunity to contribute that. Thank you all very much.